Good morning, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Matty Taus. I'm the pastor here at Epiphany Station, and I'd just like to say, obviously the word got out that I wasn't going to be here last week, the week that you guys decided to set the record attendance for Epiphany Station ever and pack the place. Ridiculous. Over like 350 people here last week, which I will say poses an obvious problem in that there's not that much space left. So I will say this. If you call Epiphany Station home, if this is your church, would you do me a favor from here on out, as long as we're in this space, and then when we move to the next one, when you come, would you be willing to get out of your comfort zone and sit as far forward and as far into the middle as you possibly will? We put the stanchions along the side for the very reason that a lot of our guests, people checking us out for the first time, they come a little bit later than people can call this place home. So we want to leave those sides as open as possible for them so that when we're worshiping, they're not looking around for a seat and feeling unwelcome. So if you'd be willing to do that for me, that would be amazing. Yeah, so we're in week 5 of our teaching series, Who Do You Want to Be? A teaching series with one purpose, really, to take time to look at and ask the question of ourselves, who do we want to be? Every week I ask you to do exactly the same thing, to take the program that you were handed by Emma or Kelly as you walked in this morning, and on the inside page where you can take notes on the teaching today, I want you to fill in the first blank with me. I want every single one of us to do this. It doesn't matter if you do it every week or this is your first time. I want you to do this with me. The first sentence with a blank at the end says, if I could be more of anything in 2017, I would be. What would you be? What would you be more of? What would you be less of? If you were to get intentional, if you were to get practical, what would you have more of in your life? And then what this teaching series affords us is just 30 minutes, just a chunk out of every week to really dig into that. What would it look like for me to make changes in my habits, in my work, in my personal life, in my relationships, in my home, so I could be more of what I want to be? It also gives me the opportunity to ask you the question, and for really us to be asked the question, not just what do I want to be more of this year, but what does God want me to be more of? What does He desire to see more of in my life? If we want to be here so that we can maybe learn to love God or learn to love people better and better, how would we go about that? What would we do? So we've been working through a set of statements or teachings that Jesus gave that have come to be called the Beatitudes. They're the blessed are thee statements that you may have heard in the past. And basically they run down like this. In week 1 we said that God will bless those who realize they need Him. Then they can be part of His family. In week 2 we said God blesses those who are willing to mourn and see evil and sin for what it is, for they will be comforted. Week 3 was God blesses those who are humble, so they can inherit the same thing that Jesus inherited, having a relationship with God. And last week, Millie did an awesome job of talking about how God will bless those who hunger and thirst for justice, for they will be satisfied in God's justice. So this week, we're in Matthew 5. Matthew is the first book of the newest half of the Bible called the New Testament, if you're flipping through. But if you don't have a Bible, don't worry. The text will be behind me. But in Matthew 5, in verse 7, we pick up the next beatitude. Jesus said, God blesses those who are merciful, for they will be shown mercy. God blesses those who are merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Now, with this beatitude, you can tell that there's an obvious shift, an obvious difference between this one and the previous ones, and between this one and the rest, I'll be honest. And that is in the connection between what we're called to do, what God says, what Jesus says, this is a blessed kind of life, and what we're promised if we do it. In the other ones, if you realize you need Him, then you can have a relationship. If you realize that things aren't that great, then you can be comforted. But in here, if you will be merciful, you will receive mercy. We're called very much to be proactively doing something, and the thing in which that we're told we're going to receive is exactly the same thing that we're told to give. Now, mercy in of itself is very simply, it's the discretionary power, it's the ability to choose to be forgiving or compassionate or benevolent towards another person. And when Jesus throws out this beatitude, He does something that really changes the paradigm and shift of how we look at receiving mercy. He makes it a reciprocal relationship. He connects the two in such a way that you cannot give it if you have not received it, and you cannot receive it if you have not given it. and makes it so tightly linked relationship. Now, I'm going to ask you to do something now, which might be a bit weird for you, but don't worry, I won't make you do anything too crazy. But if you can, I would like you to stand up. If you can, I want you to stand up. If you can't stand up, I want you to raise your hand for me. Awesome. Now sit down. I'm only kidding. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to stay standing if, when you are in need or in emergency or very vulnerable, you want to be able to receive mercy. Stay standing. Good. That was the right answer. Well done. 100% so far. Now, here's what I want you to do next. I want you to sit down if I mention a specific person or a people group that you struggle or don't want to or can't show mercy towards. When they're vulnerable, when they've made mistakes, when they have difficulties, when they do something evil, if you can or you struggle to show mercy towards them, you can take a seat. You ready? You ready? Yeah. There we go. It's still awake. Still awake. Okay. So first off, we're going to start with Blair Walsh. Just get rid of all the Vikings fans while we're at it. You gave him a hard time. You can sit down. Anyway, if you struggle to show mercy towards people in authority, say government officials, you can take a seat. Anyone in church authority, take a seat. Anyone in the service industry, like law enforcement or healthcare or a waitress, if they make a mistake and you really struggle to show mercy towards them. What about your own parents? You struggle to have mercy towards them. That was a good one. What about your kids or someone else's kids? You struggle to show mercy towards your children. What about your spouse? What about your... What about your partner? What about your ex? What about siblings? What about your boss? What about colleagues? What about your employees? What about friends? What about enemies? What about thieves? What about murderers? What about abusers? What about addicts? What about refugees? What about Christians, Muslims, Jews? What about anyone that doesn't really fit into the way that you think life should be done? Do you struggle at all to show them mercy? And finally, maybe the most difficult one of all, what about yourself? Do you have the ability to show yourself mercy when you screw up? All right. You can go ahead and sit down. Oh, actually, in fact, if you're still standing, you can go ahead and leave. Because if you know how to do and show mercy, you can teach me and the rest of us because you're good. But for those of us who ever struggle at all with showing mercy to others and we struggle to hold that connection, here's what I want us to do this morning. I want us to deal with that. Because when Jesus utters the words, "Blessed are those who are merciful, for they will receive mercy," he immediately said, if we are not giving mercy, we're in deep trouble. And we have to be able to deal with that. We have to be able to work out why mercy is tough for us. Otherwise, we're going to struggle to receive it in that reciprocal relationship. Now, giving mercy is not easy for one people group or one person, individual specific. It's very difficult for you and for me. And I think the number one reason for that is we come to a point with certain demographics, certain people or a person, when it comes to mercy, we get the feeling that they don't deserve it. That they have done something that no longer do they deserve your mercy. They have made a choice. They have walked their path. They have done something. And they don't deserve your forgiveness. They don't deserve your compassion. They don't deserve your mercy. And I get it. I'm not patronizing you. I understand that. I really do. It's the most natural state of affairs. When we are wronged or we are hurt or we are let down, we do not wish to forgive that. We do not wish to have mercy. We want to seek justice. Now, Millie did an amazing job last week talking about how it's a godly thing to seek, to thirst and hunger after justice. That's a good thing, to seek things to be made right. If you missed that message or any others, you can go to the website, epiphanystation.com, and find it. But if we only live by justice, we miss one of the major, if not foundational parts of our relationship at all with God or with each other. And that is that mercy has to be a part of our relationships. It cannot be just justice. Because justice says when a wrong is committed on a set of scales, when a wrong is committed, it gets put on this side and tips it. Justice says something has to be done over here to counter that, to push it back down. Either a good deed to overcome it, or punishment, or revenge. And so we can balance that out so things are okay again. And that's often how we respond to being hurt, to being offended, is we want to seek justice. We want to seek to be balanced by balancing this side, by repercussion. Well, that's not the way that God works. It's the way that we work. It's very natural to us. But the supernatural way is not to seek to work on this side, but on this side. And to deal with the offense, aside from seeking revenge, but instead through mercy, seeking to remove what has been put on the scales. You see, our ability to have a relationship with God at all is founded on mercy. It is founded on the fact that an undeserved, unearned relationship with Him is given out of His mercy. And just the same as any relationship we might have with another person has to be founded on mercy, because sooner or later we're going to hurt each other. And there has to be an ability to have mercy. We're going to let each other down. We're going to make mistakes. And if there's no mercy, there's no ongoing relationship. It's why they stop. It's why friendships end. It's why marriages end. It's why siblings don't talk to each other, because there's a lack of mercy in the relationship. Now, when Jesus later on in his time on earth was explaining this to people, and he really kind of paused into this, what he used to do was tell hypothetical stories called parables to really try and unpack it and explain for people, look, this is what it looks like practically. In real life, might be how you see and understand something. So what he did was, for a guy called Peter, one of his closest followers, when Peter walks up all puffy chest outness and says to him, I'm getting pretty good at it. I'm getting pretty good at the forgiveness thing. Let me tell you how good I'm getting at it. And in Matthew 18, verse 21, he begins. It says, then Peter came to him and asked, Lord, how often should I forgive someone who sins against me? Like 7 times? 7's pretty good, right? 7's pretty high. What? And he's just kind of, popping the collar of, I'm getting really good at this. From when you've once found me, I've matured a lot. I've grown a lot. I could do it 7 times. Jesus, ever being the one to deflate the ego, says, no, not 7, which Peter might think, awesome, 2. This would be good. No, he says, not 7, try 70 times 7. And then he goes on to explain that more fully. What happens is Jesus tells this parable of an unforgiving debtor. He says, Peter, therefore the kingdom of heaven, a relationship with God, can be compared to a king who decided to bring his accounts up to date with servants who'd borrowed money from him. In the process, one of his debtors was brought in who owed him millions of dollars. He couldn't pay, so his master ordered that he be sold along with his wife and kids and everything he owned to pay the debt, to try and reclaim some small amount of what was owed. But the man fell down before his master and begged him, please be patient with me, and I will pay it all. Then his master was filled with pity for him and released him and forgave his debt, cleared the scales, cleared the books. It's a good story. I mean, it'd be great. We should just leave it there. But next comes my favorite bit. But when the man left the king, he went to a fellow servant who owed him a few $1,000s, grabbed him by the throat, and demanded instant payment. His fellow servant fell down before him and begged for a little more time. Be patient with me, and I will pay it, he pleaded. But his creditor wouldn't wait. He had the man arrested and put in prison until the debt could be paid in full. When some of the other servants saw this, they were very upset. They went to the king and told him everything that had happened. And the king called in the man who'd been forgiven and said, you evil servant, I forgave you that tremendous debt because you pleaded with me. Shouldn't you have mercy on your fellow servant just as I had mercy on you? Then the angry king sent the man to prison to be tortured until he paid his entire debt. That's what my heavenly Father will do to you if you refuse to forgive your brothers and sisters from your heart. Peter probably didn't walk away with his head held too high at that point. But you see, what Jesus did is what he does so often. 2 of my favorite things about this parable. One is the idea of a guy going and choking the other one out. That's the darker side of me. The other bit is that so often when it comes to things like mercy and forgiveness, and when we've been offended by someone, or when we've been let down, all we can usually see is what is right in front of us. This person, this circumstance, this individual, do they deserve this mercy? What Jesus does is he says, take a step back. I want you to come back a little bit, and I want you to see what I can see. Let me show you the big picture. And he puts our ability to forgive, our ability to have mercy and compassion in light of any mercy or compassion that we may have received first. That the king gave to this debtor first. That God may have given to us first. And basically says to Peter, okay, Peter, 7, okay, it's a reasonable number. But what I'd like you to do instead is think of every evil thing you've ever done, every evil thought, every evil action, every evil word. Count those up, put a number on that, and how much God has forgiven you. That's the number. That's the number that I want you to be able to forgive someone else. That's the number that I want you to be able to show mercy to others. If you want to seek out a number, you want to make this a numbers game, do it as much as God has done it for you. See, God doesn't play games. Jesus doesn't play games when it comes to mercy because it's all based on mercy. Our ability to have a relationship with Him or with each other has to be founded on our ability to be merciful individuals. Because our ability to have mercy, show mercy to others, is clearly linked to our understanding of how much mercy we've received. If we believe that we're pretty good, not really much in need of forgiveness or mercy from our God, you will find that we have very little to give anybody else. That we have a short temper, that we have a short fuse, that we have a short account of people that we've written off because they don't deserve it. If we realize that we are forgiven much, been given much mercy, then we can be people that show that to others. Because our ability to love God is dependent on His mercy on us. Our ability to love people is dependent on our ability to give mercy to them. Now, in a perfect world, where we didn't make mistakes and nobody made mistakes, there would be no need for mercy. But it's not a perfect world. Your wife will mess up. Your husband will let you down. Your kids will do something that seems just malicious. Your friends will make you feel unloved. Your boss will make you feel unworthy. All these things are going to happen in your life because the world is not perfect. And just as we are not perfect and we are in need of that mercy, that is why it is here. That is why it's such important. That's why Matthew 5:7 exists. That's why it has to be a part of how we do life and how we do life a way that God will bless it. Now at Epiphany Station here we have next steps. Every week something from our conversation that we want to challenge you to go and do with our conversation. Either just to think about or to go and challenge you with so that you can take this forward and bring it to bear on your life. The first next step is to receive mercy. To receive mercy. Like I said, you cannot be a person of increasing depth and increasing width of mercy that you can show to others without having something to which you draw from. You can't go and make a withdrawal without there having been made a deposit. You could try that at the bank and watch them laugh you out of the building. It's the same with mercy. It's the same with this reciprocal relationship. If you want to be a person of mercy, you want to be able to show mercy to your loved ones. You want to be able to show mercy to strangers. And guess what? You need to have something for which you draw from that's not based on other people, that's not based on other circumstance, but is so much deeper than that. So you can be a person of ongoing mercy and grace to others. Titus 3:5 gives us this picture of where we get our mercy from, where we get the great deposit from. It says, He saved us, not because of the righteous things we had done, but because of His mercy. He washed away our sins, giving us a new birth and new life through the Holy Spirit. When God looks at our scales and asks for us to come into right relationship with Him, He does not say, you better start weighing stuff on this side and bring it up. He says, let me take off the offense. Let me take off the letdown so that the balance becomes right. Let me show you mercy. And when we understand the gravity of that, that changes everything. Have you ever started a relationship with God that was based on mercy? Not based on you doing good things or paying your penance or making it right or being a good Christian. But have you ever started a relationship that was simply based on something that you don't deserve and cannot earn but was freely offered and said, He will give you mercy. He will take it all away so you can have relationship with Him. Have you ever done that? If you haven't, that has to be your step. If you have done that, if you have made that decision, or you do have a relationship with God, sometimes we just need to sit in the fact that our relationship still rests on mercy. I'm not any better than I once was. I've not now made myself beautiful in His eyes. I'm now not perfect. I've not done enough good things that I don't need it. It doesn't matter if you've been a Christian for 80 years or 8 seconds. Our relationship is still based on mercy. And for some of us, as we grow in our faith, we just need to go back to that again and sit in it. Still need that mercy. Still need that grace. Still need that forgiveness. That needs to be my foundation of relationship. Every evil thought, every evil deed, I need to count those up. Put a number to what God has forgiven so I can see the size of it. Now, if you struggle with this idea of receiving mercy from God, I wouldn't be surprised. But if you want to talk to somebody about it, maybe you want to receive mercy from God, you just don't know how that works, how that looks practically, we would love to talk with you about it. We would love to communicate with you in whatever way. In person, text, carrier pigeon, we don't care. But we would love to do that because it's so important. If you'd be willing to let us know you'd like to do that, you can let us know on the connection card. It's a slip of paper on the right-hand side of your program that you can tear away. And we use it for numerous other things. You can let us know prayer requests and any way we can take care of you or give us your feedback on your experience today. But the big thing I would love to know is if you want help understanding how to receive God's mercy, you would let us know on this and we'll get in touch with you this week. We will follow up with you if you wish. You can drop these in one of the 2 red boxes actually at the end of the aisle as you leave today. The second step, once we've received mercy and only once we've received it, is to be merciful. It's to be merciful, to be champions of mercy wherever we go. So that when you start looking into the world and seeing these people at their most vulnerable, at their most delicate, that you could be the one that changes everything for them by the way that you show them mercy. You take your Blair Walshes that let you down again and again, that go left of the mark constantly. The people that make you feel let down, you show them that your love for them isn't dependent on what they can do. You look at people in authority, government officials, church authority, and see that no one is perfect. Screw-ups are everywhere in every level of authority. You look at people in the service industry, waiters, waitresses, law enforcement, doctors, people still able to make mistakes. And you go at them with mercy, not an expectation of perfection. You look at your parents who are probably a little bit older and a little bit wiser than when they were trying to raise you. Probably a little more tired after raising you too. You look at your kids and see that they're just kids. You look at your siblings and choose to have mercy on them no matter what they've done. You look around at the lonely, the widows, the orphans, the divorced, the singles, and you choose to have relationship out of mercy for them, not as a charity case. You look around and you see your spouse, the person that you gave vows to love forever, the person who vowed to love you forever, and know that they will love you imperfectly forever. And they will never get to that level of perfection. You look at your partner, possibly the person that you maybe want to get married to, maybe start a family with. What's your relationship going to be founded on? Everything being awesome and perfect all the time? Or are you showing mercy to each other when it's not? You look at your ex, possibly one of the most difficult relationships to have mercy on. And you choose to have mercy, not for your sake and not for theirs, but sometimes simply because God told you to, and because of the mercy that He's shown you, and that you're no better. You look around and you look at your siblings, your colleagues, your friends, your boss, your employees, people that you're shoved into a space with, sometimes for 8 hours a day, and you choose to be merciful no matter what state of life, no matter what they think, political, social, no matter what they talk about, and you choose to have mercy on where they're at because of the mercy that you know that you have. You look at people who are sick, mentally, physically, relationally, and you choose not to see them as weaker, but choose to see them as people that are worthy of your service in mercy. You look at people who are thieves, murderers, abusers, and you see deep down for everything that they have done and that has been seen and that has been punished and publicized, that you've done the same in your heart, you've done the same in your mind. Truly no better. You look at fellow Christians who we can hold to a ridiculous standard. You look at fellow people in your community. You look at Muslims, you look at Jews, you look at atheists, and you ask the question, how would God wish me to treat them in light of the mercy that I've been shown? Mother Teresa, perhaps the greatest matriarch of compassion and mercy, once said, I am a little pencil in the hand of a writing God who is sending a love letter to the world. Our mercy is not about us looking good. It's not even about the other person feeling good. Our mercy that we can display and show is simply a small gleam, a small glimmer for them to be able to know of the mercy that is available to them from God. That is our job. As soon as we've received it, to go and be the pen, be the pencil, be the work that God can do something through to show people mercy is at hand. It's to be the better example. That when people mess up, when they screw up, when everyone else is turning their back on them, when other people seek to reprimand them or punish them or destroy them or seek revenge or want to take advantage of them or just hold a grudge, that we would be something different. That we would be a people of mercy in our homes, in our workplaces, in the judicial system, everywhere. We would be champions of mercy. And the third next step is to be blessed. And this step to be blessed is because the alternative is not what I want for any person on this earth. The alternative of not being blessed by God in this, of not receiving His mercy, is not anything that we should wish on another. And it's nothing I wish on you. James 2:13 through 14 says, there will be no mercy for those who have not shown mercy to others. But if you have been merciful, God will be merciful when He judges you. What good is it, dear brothers and sisters, if you say you have faith but don't show it by your actions? Can that kind of faith save anyone? So go and be blessed. Go and be blessed and have a faith that's worth having. A faith that actually shows it loves and shows it cares by showing mercy in action to those people who need to see it. For them, for God, but also for you. For He can shower you with as much blessing as you're willing to hand out to those who come into your life. In a second here, I'm going to pray. And I'm going to pray for God's mercy for me and for my family and for you and for yours. And then for our community. And then we get to go and do something about it. I'm not saying you wait there in the bushes waiting for someone to screw up and be in need of mercy, but I'm saying it's going to happen. Probably before the end of the day. Opportunities for you to show and give mercy in light of a mercy that has been shown and given to you. Would you guys please pray with me? Father God, we ask that you would be. No, God, we ask that we would be aware of the mercy that you've already given. You've already done it. You've already done much more than we need. We've already done much more than we can possibly fathom. But we need to realize it. We need to be able to see it, the amazing grace, the stuff that we don't fully comprehend all the time. And that when we act out and we want to seek revenge and punishment and then to balance the scales that way, that you would just make it abundantly clear that we're missing the point. That mercy is our watchword. That mercy is who we are by now, or who we have been called to be. So we ask that you would show us what that looks like. For the person on our minds right now, for the person or the people group that made us sit down, that we really struggle with. We don't want that to be a roadblock to your mercy. Help us to forgive those who trespass against us so that we will be forgiven. That's who we want to be as a church. That's how we want to be as your followers. That's who we want to be this year. Thank you for your mercy, God. Amen.